you're human, and there is a part of your brain that wants you to survive. And that part of your brain is not wired for happiness, it's wired for survival. Harvard Public Health did a study that people who suppress their emotions are 30% more likely to die of premature death by all causes, 70% more likely to be diagnosed with cancer. Be the gift you're meant to be. Do you know what a miracle it is that you were born? Like, why would you hide your actual self? Like, that's the craziest, most insane thing.
Meet Penelope. She nods as her boss speaks. She glides her hand through her notebook as if she's capturing brilliance. Around the table, the training leadership team murmurs in agreement. The room gets silent, and all eyes turn to Penelope as her boss stops speaking. "We're in alignment, correct?" he says. Penelope smiles. "Yes, sounds good." The words leave her mouth faster than she can stop them. And inside, she feels regret. Because in her bag is a proposal that she had spent weeks building. It's a new training strategy to revamp onboarding, to reduce burnout, and to create real engagement within their healthcare workforce. Data, research, rollout, all of it prepared, all of it unsaid. The meeting ends. Laptops close, chairs scrape, compliments are exchanged, and Penelope walks back to her office, feeling the familiar weight of not speaking up. Penelope is the director of training at a fast-growing healthcare organization, and she's passionate about helping people to learn, to grow. But when she gets into rooms like that, something changes in her. She thinks it's from her upbringing. She would always defer to authority, be agreeable, to not rock the boat, to keep the peace. And now, when the stakes are high, she smiles, she nods, and she chooses to stay small. Her boss, who's very kind, is also pretty emotional, reactive. He's unaware of how much he micromanages. Feedback is vague, empowerment is rare, and every time Penelope chooses harmony over honesty, it's like the gap between who she is and who she can be grows wider. She wants more courage, more purpose. But she feels trapped in playing the role of a supportive team player rather than the bold voice in the room. Today, I'm speaking with Shereen Thor, keynote speaker, executive coach, two-time TEDx speaker, and author of The Revolutionary Woman. Shereen helps leaders to break free from others' expectations and to lead with humor, heart, and unapologetic confidence. And I'm excited to hear how Shereen would help someone like Penelope to find her voice, step into her power, and be the leader she knows she was always meant to be. My name is Jay Abbasi, and welcome to Unstuck. Real people, real stories, real solutions. While the details are changed to protect anonymity, what you just heard is based on a true story of challenges that come up in the real world. And we discuss how to navigate these environments with practical tips to help you get unstuck and build a more fulfilling, impactful, and balanced life and career. So Shereen, I remember in our last conversation, you were telling me about how you're an immigrant kid and how in your upbringing, there were some things that were conditioned within you that you had to break free from. Can you take me back to that time and what it was like for you?
Let's go, Jay. Let's dive right in. Oh my goodness. Yes. Because honestly, that's where it all started, right? So I don't know if you can relate. I'm sure there's people on who could potentially relate who are immigrant kids or just had really dominant, intense parents who let them know early on that they needed to fall in line. But I don't know. I just feel like, I was born in America, raised by Egyptian immigrants. And so they really had very quick expectations around me being a doctor, a lawyer, or an engineer. And it was like, if you're not those things, we are ashamed of you, Jay. We are ashamed. You are an embarrassment to the family.
So, Shani, I was going to say, you got a third option. I didn't get that third. It was doctor
really?
Or lawyer. It was one of those two.
Oh my gosh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. For me, like if I was an engineer, it would have been fine. And if I was a pharmacist, that also would, or a dentist. Yeah, basically anything like medical. Anyway.
Yeah.
So apparently they were lenient with me. I'm now learning. I had it so easy in terms of immigrant kids. So yeah, I just early on learned like, here's what you need to be for us to approve. Here's what you need to be for us to not be embarrassed when we go to the Egyptian church and talk about like what our kid is doing. So it was really, I don't know, it felt a little bit like conditional love. I don't think I consciously felt that or knew that at the time, right? But like as a grown-up who is now a parent and thinks critically about the things, I'm like, okay, yeah, it just kind of felt like you need to be this in order to gain our approval, i.e. our love. And so, those messages when you're young, they just lock in. And I just very quickly was like, who do I need to be loved? Like that was the question I was, I think, always seeking to answer. And so, when I went off to college, I would have loved to major in philosophy or art or dance or something like nebulous. But I knew that my parents wouldn't approve and I knew that they would be embarrassed. And so I was like, well, I don't necessarily want to go bang my head against the wall in engineering class. So I will go middle of the road and choose communications because at least it's like more normal, but like, I won't be hating my class. So did that, graduated, and then got my first job out of college. And I feel like everyone's life gives them like a moment where you are either going to continue on the trajectory that you have been taught, or you are going to disrupt the system and become like a naughty little rebel who just goes in your own way. And for me, this first job out of college was that. Of course, I didn't know it at the time. You never know things at the time, but hindsight's 2020. And yeah, I got this job 3 months in. I was so excited. They gave me an office. I was like, okay, I'm like a grown-up now. I think my parents might actually be proud. I'm proud. So I got this office and I was like excited to be adulting. And I had this kind of banter with this one guy who worked there. So I was like probably 22. And he was probably in his midlife, maybe like 40 something. And we would sort of banter back and forth, sort of sarcastically joking with each other. And I didn't think anything of it. And then one day he walked into my office and he closed the door behind him and he hovered over my desk and said, if you don't lose your attitude, I'm going to bend you over this desk and spank you. And I was literally like, what? Like, it was just such a weird moment in my life. It was the weirdest moment ever because, one, I don't think at that time people were saying words like patriarchy, right? And no one was talking about like #MeToo. So it wasn't like normal to like know about these things or think about these things. I was also like, I just got out of college. Like, I don't even, what? Like, I was so beyond perplexed by what was happening. I had thought we were just joking until this moment felt aggressive. So then I went to lunch with my like friend girl colleagues and they were like, Shereen, that's sexual harassment. That's sexual harassment. And I was like, okay, I think they're right. So I went to my boss, who's a really nice guy. So he was the president of the company. And I was like, hey, told him what happened. He was super upset. So he went to his boss, who was the CFO, and they were both super upset. And so they both went to the CEO. It was kind of a smaller company, so we didn't have like an amazing HR department, which is so funny because maybe that's why I like love HR people and I'm like always working with HR people now. I'm like, we need you. Okay. So basically, they had me come into a meeting. And so I went into that meeting fully expecting to receive support just based on my direct boss's, response. And the CEO just looked me in the face and said, he was just joking, right? I mean, you could still work with him, right? And I just sat in this office, like staring at this authority figure CEO. And that was a moment where like, it was really like, are you going to say what you think others want you to say to be loved or accepted or to not get fired or not be a whistleblower or whatever. And I made a snap decision in that moment to be the good little immigrant kid. So he said, he was just joking, right? You get to work with him, right? And I swear, Jay, holding back tears, like with all of me, I was like, yes. And I got up and I walked out of his office that day. And I kid you not, it's like the lights went dim. Every day that I got up, suited up, fought traffic, and went to work was like the lights kept dimming. So this like immigrant programming, right, that maybe seemed like a harmless thing in my youth. And okay, so I didn't major in philosophy. I majored in communications, like whatever. In this moment was like disturbing, And so I ended up staying at that job for like a year and a half. I talked to my friends, family. I was so unhappy. And they were all like, you don't really have a resume. Like you just got out of college. Like you really can't be like job hopping. So I sort of got this advice that lined up with what I had always been told, which is like, put your head down, don't cause trouble, survive, So I did. And I became progressively depressed day after day going to that job. And then finally I'm just going to thank God, the universe. I don't know what people believe in. I don't know if it's okay to talk about that on your podcast. But I had a friend who went to this motivational seminar and she just nagged me. She was just like, I think you would love it. I just went. It was so amazing. You're going to love it. I was like, listen, I don't have time for this. I don't have money for this. This is for people who are weird and need help. It's not my thing. Okay. Like I'm good. I got a job. I got a college degree. I don't need it, Anyway, She nagged hard enough. I paid $500 to reserve my spot, pushed it off for 6 months because I didn't really want to go. Finally went because that $500 was looming. I was like, when you throw money down, you don't want to lose it. So I was like, all right, fine, I'll finally go. Showed up, arms crossed, asking for my money back. Just like, really, I didn't really want to come. Like, what's the return policy? And they were like, well, our return policy is if you go through the whole thing and get nothing out of it, we'll give you your money back. But you do need to go through the whole thing. And it was like a Thursday, Friday evening kind of a thing, and Saturday, Sunday, full day. So I was like, oh, fine, whatever. So I stayed at this cheesy motivational seminar. And this was a life-changing experience. Like it was so beyond anything I would have ever imagined. At this seminar, I sort of I don't know, my eyes opened to how I had been making choices in my life that were smart and rational and based on programming, right? But were causing me to abandon myself and causing me despair and depression. And for the first time, I think this seminar gave me almost like a little container to operate within, where it was okay to break the rules, where it was okay to take a time out, stop playing the game of life based on the rules I had been handed, and really go is this working for me? Do I want to continue down this road? Which, by the way, is why I'm obsessed with coaching now, because I feel like had I not had this sort of dramatic intervention where I was confronted with the time and space to pause and debrief and reassess, I just think I would have probably continued on this, people pleasing, immigrant kid, put your head down and survive, be miserable. You know what I mean? I probably would have just lived my whole life that way. But thank whoever is out there that there was this, this intervention moment. And I was like, yeah, I don't like it. I don't like it. And I don't
So
like
it kind of broke you in some ways, right? I mean, oftentimes that's what happens. The challenge was so intense that it kind of forced you to have to look at the life you were leading right? Because you've been maybe just putting it off. Oh, this is logical. I need to pay the bills, right? So when you had that realization, what did you realize about, I guess, the natural patterns that you were falling into and how that was affecting your emotional state?
It's so good. Such a good question. Yeah, it made me realize that when I make decisions with my head, it sometimes hurts my heart. So I might think it's smart, you don't have a resume, don't start job hopping. All these things, they seem smart, right? Don't pick philosophy, pick communication, right? All these things seem smart and they were fine. But they weren't. And I think and then I think that's the trick is we think up here, we make decisions up here, but we forget there's a whole other situation happening that we're not consciously aware of. It's happening in the unconscious. It's happening in the part of us that is fully emotional, likened to a 5 or 6-year-old child, isn't living here, right? And so we just sort of like shove that little child down and we're like, sorry, dude, you got to survive. Sorry, dude, you got to stay at this job. Sorry, dude, you got to major in, what makes sense. And that little 5 or 6-year-old child, not to be dramatic, but like kind of begins to die. And so like you see these midlife crises, right? That movie American Beauty where the dude's like going all wild. Kevin Spacey's like full on midlife crisis. And now I'm like, oh, like I get it. Like if you live a whole life, you get to your midlife and you've been doing that to yourself. Yeah, you're like kind of going to freak out because there's a party that now sees the end and doesn't like where you are. So sorry, I'm getting off into the weeds. So to finish the story, the seminar made me way more consciously aware of how my quote unquote smart or rational decisions were harming my heart. I don't think I was aware of that before. I was sort of just operating within the rules, right? And like feeling bad, but not really understanding what to do. And then at the end of the seminar, they gave us this 90-day goal. And I decided to quit a master's degree that I was sort of like dutifully enrolled in because it made sense. I didn't know what to do with my like free time after work. So I quit that master's degree program and I just like started doing stand-up comedy.
That's insane. I was reading about this, that you did stand-up comedy. So I guess why stand-up comedy? Why was that one of the things that you decided to do when you were breaking free from the molds?
It's a great question. It had been maybe a naughty idea that I flirted with, that I talked myself out of for years. I graduated college. I saw my friend start doing it in Seattle. And I was like, oh, he's so wild. That's so crazy. Like, it's so cool. And then I watched him on MySpace when MySpace was a thing, like ascend into being like an actual comedian, right? It wasn't just, oh, he did an open mic. It was like, no, he's like doing real clubs and he's doing his thing. And I felt something that I don't normally feel, which is jealous. Like, I'm not a person who gets jealous. I'm like, yeah, good for you. No, no, no. But if I ever feel jealousy, I'm like, oh, I think I want this thing. So it was sort of like an indicator to me. And then I remember being on MySpace and creeping on like some of his comedian friends' things. And this one woman comedian had a quiz. Do you think more women should do comedy? And it was like, yes, no, hell yes. And I immediately clicked hell yes. And then I remember being like, why did I just click hell yes? But I won't venture out to do this. So these kinds of like little moments had kind of been happening in the background. Of course, I talked myself out of them because like, who's doing comedy? Like, do you want to look dumb? Do you want to be broke? Like, what are we talking about here? Like, do you want to embarrass your parents? So yeah, the seminar again just gave me that moment of like time out, debrief, reassess. And I was like, let's go. I am done playing by the rules. Let's do something crazy, Jay.
Well, I think it's one of the craziest things you can do, because the reason I say that, of all the things one can do where you really put yourself out there so vulnerably, stand-up comedy could be the most raw form of that. You are up there attempting to make people laugh consistently for the time that you have a microphone up to your face. And that's a hard thing. And everyone is judging you from the moment your name is announced to the moment you get off that stage. So to me, I think that was such a act of courage.
Oh, thank you. You're so kind. It was definitely brave, no doubt. It was the craziest move I had ever made in my life up to that point. I later on, went on to skydive, have babies, and start a business. So crazier things have happened, but definitely comedy, I mean, it makes no sense. And I think that's why it was what I needed. It was totally irrational. You know what I mean? And that's why my first TEDx talk is named The Intelligence of Being Irrational. Because the first time I ever was brave enough to be my authentic self was the time that I was the most irrational. And like, it just made no sense. It was not going to make me money, at least not then, right? Like maybe if I continued or whatever. So to finish my clearly very long story, I did comedy hard and fast for 2 years. I literally went up everywhere they would take me. It was like the most beautiful adventure ever. I was obsessed. And then at the same time, I sort of continued on the seminar opportunities that company gave. So it's like, maybe my first one was that like, kind of Thursday through Sunday thing. And then the next thing was like a 7-day retreat at a ropes course, kind of like, cry about your childhood and shed the old skin, whatever, right? They just kind of had other opportunities. So I did comedy and continued sort of drinking the Kool-Aid and transforming at the same time for 2 years straight. At the end of this 2-year sprint on both of these paths of transformation, I got scouted by MTV to potentially come in as like a talking head or a VJ. I got off the stage. Actually, there was a group called the Sultans of Satire, like a bunch of Middle Easterns. It was so cool. And I was their opener because I was like the noob in the group. But you know who was part of it? There's a huge, do you have any favorite comedians who are Middle Eastern?
Well, I know of a few, like Maz Jobrani is one that
He was
I
in
knew
it.
of.
Dude,
Oh,
that
he
dude was
was?
in it. Yes, he
Yeah,
was.
I saw him live. I saw him Prudential Center in New Jersey along with Ahmed. I think that was his name. He
Amazing.
had Ahmed twice. And
Totally.
there were a few others, but Maz Jobrani was the headliner.
Amazing. And both of those guys were in the Sultans of Satire. And I was like their little Egyptian opener. And I just had like a quick 5 minutes. It was the craziest night. I was driving to the Hollywood Improv, flat tire on the freeway, barely got there in time. It was so dramatic. And at the end of the show, this scout from MTV comes up to me and he's like, hey, I'm wondering if you'd ever want to come in to do an audition to be like a talking head or a VJ sometime. And I'm like, yes. Like, I just was like so flattered, right? I was like, oh my gosh, that's exciting. Dreams are coming true. So right when comedy kind of started to like look like it was really going places, I felt in my heart that the experience I had being coached, because one of the opportunities the seminar offered was like a 90-day coaching program. And I really, really took to coaching. The experience of having a neutral third party who was just holding space for me to be my authentic self, whether it made sense or not, right? With no option for approval or disapproval, right? Like there was none of that kind of conditional energy that I'd had in my childhood. Whoa, like that fully transformed my life. It gave me back so many parts of myself that I had lost in the time that I was kind of becoming depressed at that job. And I really felt my joy come back. I really felt my energy come back. Like I felt my life force come back in this time that I was being coached and doing all the seminar stuff. And so I ended up, even though comedy looked like it was going places, I stepped away from comedy and I just like went all in on coaching. I've been coaching for over 20 years. I wrote a book called Revolutionary Woman about 5 years ago to empower women to be their full, authentic, ridiculous, irrational, whatever, right? Whatever they are, I don't even care, right? Just be yourself. And then went on to do a couple TEDx talks. The first one, The Intelligence of Being Irrational, based on, my crazy story I just told you. The second one about how to empower women for the future and just some interesting points that were in the book about how women in ancient Egypt often had more rights than women in modern day today. They could, it was actually amazing how many rights they had. So just kind of inviting us as a people, as a society to potentially just, put on a new lens that we are viewing women through, because the way we have historically viewed women isn't really valuing them to their full value. And it's just kind of silly and ridiculous and unfair. So like, hey, maybe we could try something different. And then I now have Revolutionary Leader Training and Coaching, which is like an agency that really supports people in having transformational coaching experiences in the way that I had mine, but at scale, right? So now I have a team of coaches and we have, oftentimes like an organization will say, hey, would you coach 10 of our leaders? And we just do all that. So that's my whole life story, Jay.
Well, it's fascinating, your story, Shereen. And I know that you have an online course that we could talk a little bit more about later that really brings a lot of this together that's coming out really soon. And I can imagine as someone's hearing this, they go, all right, Shidi, I'm inspired by this. I feel it. I want to be like that. And they're afraid. They're afraid of breaking free. They're afraid of what people will think. They're afraid of failure. What do you say to somebody who is bought into this, yet fears holding them back?
I mean, that's a great question. To be honest, I would first say that's normal, right? Like you're human and there is a part of your brain that wants you to survive. And that part of your brain is not wired for happiness, it's wired for survival. So, right, like I was making a choice that was in the way of survival and it was like killing me slowly. I now go around all over the place and I do a keynote speech called Revolutionary Leader where I talk about Harvard Public Health did a study that people who suppress their emotions are 30% more likely to die of premature death by all causes, 70% more likely to be diagnosed with cancer. And so what we know now, based on the data and the research, is that like you're actually if you make choices every day that dim your light, at some point your light will go out prematurely, right? So like, I guess I would say, what I would say to that person is you think you're making a smart choice that's helping you survive, but you are making a choice that is killing you. That's what I would say to them. And then I would say you need help. You need a coach, you need a community, you need some sort of supportive context to put yourself in a new environment that will hold space for you to be brave, because it is not easy. And I don't think I would have done comedy if I wasn't like coming out of some crazy seminar where I had people like, did you do it? You know what I mean? Like I had literally people who knew about this goal and wanted to know if I had done it. And so it would have been like, I'm embarrassed if I don't follow through. There was like a little bit of that, like the actual accountability of like coaching and community makes a huge difference. So yeah, I would say it's normal. You're killing yourself. Get some help.
Yeah. And what I would want you to talk to me a little bit about is, for the person who says, well, stand-up comedy, something like that seems like a huge leap. Now, in your opinion, right? Does it have to be that way? Are there multiple ways?
No, right. I don't recommend it.
Right. So like, how would you say, okay, what are some like steps that people can take so that they can get through this fear and start to break free from their old conditionings?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think you need to do anything wild like comedy. I think for me, it's just that happened to be something I had been flirting with. And I don't know, I was being over dramatic as usual, Jay. It could be something as simple as maybe it is scary to hire a coach because that makes you feel weird or like there's something wrong with you, but you'll just do that one thing. Or maybe it's not hiring a coach. Maybe it's just, I'm going to have this colleague or friend of mine be like an accountability partner so that we can hold each other accountable to doing things that inspire us, that maybe we're a little scared to do, but inspire us. Like I've had people say, I really want to learn to play the cello. Like, literally at the end of my like TED talk, I asked like, what naughty or irrational impulse have you been talking yourself out of? So I've first asked them that, like, what's the thing that maybe you wanted to do, but you keep telling yourself it doesn't make sense or it's dumb or it's frivolous. Just like, what is that thing? And then I would say like, find someone to support you or hold you accountable in just taking one small step. Doesn't have to be anything big. It could be like, I YouTubed how to play cello. It could be, I signed up for a cello class. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't even matter. It's sort of like, what matters more is that you get in the habit of honoring your actual desires, your irrational impulses, like the things that you truly want, that you get out of the habit of just following rules and being compliant and falling in line, because that is definitely going to lead you towards misery and premature death. Yay!
What's important, I think, to highlight from what you just said is it isn't so binary either, like where it's like, all right, you got to drop everything, take all the risk and become this rebel. And I imagine, a teenager that just gets fed up and all of a sudden they start partying and doing drugs and they're going out all night and they've made that decision. It's not like that. I like the way you positioned it, which is build up the habit of being your authentic self. Yeah. And I think that for the story that we heard earlier with Penelope, she's in this trap of wanting to be agreeable to the leadership team there. Let me just start by asking you, what did you see in Penelope when you read the story?
I saw an amazing woman. I saw an amazing leader. I saw someone who could really bring a lot of value to the marketplace, who just wasn't. You know what I mean? Like, and I feel like women do this to themselves all the time. It's like, dude, do you even know how much you could change the game? How much you could influence? How much you could lead? Do you even know how incredible you are? And like, either they don't or they're scared. Yeah, I just saw in Penelope like so many like friends, clients, family members, you know what I mean? Like, this is not a rare story. This is like a very, especially for women, a very normal story of someone incredible who could do so much and doesn't because they're scared. And I understand the fear. And I also understand what it is to choose bravery and change your life into like a dream. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's so weird to like, when I sit here with you and I'm this person who is an international keynote speaker, 2 times TEDx speaker, best-selling author, owner of an agency, like I feel very different than who I felt like as that 22-year-old new professional who was disrespected and took it. Like literally like sitting before you today as this girl, it is crazy to me that I ever did that. You know what I mean? Like I'm like talk about comedy wasn't the craziest thing I ever did. The craziest thing I ever did was let someone treat me like crap and not say anything about it. Like that's the craziest thing I ever did. What makes way more sense is that I would be this person and I would do everything I can to like bring my full self to the marketplace to inspire women or you or whoever is listening so that they can also bring their full selves to the marketplace, right? Like just like be the gift you're meant to be. Do you know what a miracle it is that you were born? Like, why would you hide your actual self? Like that's the craziest, most insane thing, like truly. And then to like be miserable in the process, like to just stomach misery all the way through, like, yeah, even crazier. So I don't know. In Penelope, I just see an echo of a lot of people, a former version of myself. Like, I get it.
Yeah. I think that what I hear in a lot of people's stories is it doesn't really occur to them until something dramatic happens or something really disturbing happens. Like in your case, when you were met with somebody who was harassing you, and then later you had that epiphany through the seminar that you went to. And I guess, how would you encourage people to be able to become more aware of these things? Like, I do think that oftentimes people are just not aware. They're like, oh, but they're like, oh, I'm upset. I'm not really feeling fulfilled, and I can't figure it out. Is there something that you recommend people either do or how they approach their day to day to be checking in with their authentic self?
I mean, honestly, I would just be a ray of sunshine again and remind them that they're going to die. Like, I mean, seriously. So another thing I talk about in my keynote speeches is the number one regret of the dying. So there's a woman named Bronnie Ware who wrote a book called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. I see you nodding your head. You know what's up, Jay. I know you do.
I do.
So yeah, she wrote this book called The Top 5 Regrets of the Dying. She was a hospice nurse and she sat at the bedside of people who were in their final days and she just soaked it in. And then she wrote this beautiful book so that we now know what are the top 5 things people regret. And the number one regret is I wish I would have lived a life true to myself, not the one others expected of me. So like, to me, I would just say like, I know you're scared and also your days are numbered. Like you really don't get to just be here, like kind of like wasting your time forever and then get to your deathbed feeling great about it. Like if you want to avoid regrets, you need to be brave today. You need to be brave right now. Like what actually matters to you? Like, what do you even really care about? Like what actually matters to you? Because I really believe everyone was born with a purpose. And it's sort of like the challenge and the gift of their life to sort of uncover, like, what is that for me? What is that meant? What am I meant for? Like, what am I here for? So yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's normal to be scared, but it's like, it's your responsibility to like figure it out, you know?
Yeah. Well, I know you were jokingly saying being that ray of sunshine, and I have to say though, I can really connect with what you're saying, Shereen, because I think about my mortality a lot, like probably much more than the average person. I don't know how people think, but it's on my mind a lot.
Well, did someone pass away? Like, how did this come about? Or have you always been like this?
No, my father passed away at 55 unexpectedly from a heart attack. And so when that
How
happened,
old were you?
I was 28. So it was a huge wake up for me. And so I think about it constantly. And it's actually not negative. Like, it sounds like that's morbid. It isn't negative. It's actually motivating. It's motivating for me to realize I don't know how much time I have. I don't want to waste a second. And, you know, my wife said something to me just recently, and it really stuck with me. I forgot where she heard it. She said, you know, people say, you know, you only live once. And that's not true. You only die once. You live moment to moment. You live every day. So make the most of your life before you hit that end that we're all going to be reaching at some point.
Exactly. Yeah, that's crazy. I have a very similar experience. My dad died unexpectedly at 56, and I was 17 years old, so a little younger, but like similar, where it just like, dude, mortality is a gut punch. And once it punches you, you never forget. You're like, oh, okay. Game changed. Like you said, like you now know 100% without question at the age of 28, you understood. You understood that your days were numbered. And it's just like, yeah, same as you. I think about my mortality like a little more than it's probably helpful.
But we could laugh about it. Like, and I hope people can realize that we could laugh about it because it is, to me, it's not such a horrible, terrible thing. I don't think about it like with a lot of fear. I get really motivated because I've just come to terms with it, I guess. That's also part of it, Shereen. It's just like, it's the one thing that is an absolute certainty. Other things in life may not be as certain. I don't know how my business is going to unfold over the next few years or the people that I'll help. I don't know exactly how the relationships in my life will be years from now. But one thing I know for sure is I have an expiration date.
Yeah. One thing I will say that I think is like, I don't know, it's kind of important to say, and it's something I haven't figured out how to say in my keynote speech quite yet because because it is like I'm talking to people in an organization, and I have been paid by a company to like inspire their people. So I don't want to get like too weird, you know, on that stage. But since we're just talking, Jay, let's get weird. You know, like when I list off the accolades of like, oh, like 2-time TEDx speaker, blah, 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 best-selling author, right? Like all that stuff. I feel like it's easy from the outside looking in to look at those things and go like, oh, that's success, right? Like, so it's easy for me to say like, those are the things that make me me now. And like, I don't even understand like how I was that like 22-year-old scared little girl, so different. But the bridge that brings me from there to here is healing. And I think that maybe is a little bit also sort of like an answer to the question of like, what should people do? I feel like we need to heal the part of us that was taught to like tune out and disconnect from our emotions. We need to heal the part of us that might have been told what you want doesn't matter, right? Like there's a healing that needs to happen. So like, who knows what this looks like? Could be the coaching, could be therapy, could be like Reiki. I don't know what people are into, right? Like do whatever works for you, honey. Have a priest pray over you, no judgment, like whatever you do. Like, but I do think there is an element of like healing because every time I've done comedy, writing the book, doing the first TEDx talk, I've had like so much fear erupt from how scary it is to like fully be seen or like potentially fall on my face or potentially experience rejection that I've had to like I've had to heal from the parts of me that really wanted that conditional love so bad that I was willing to abandon myself, right? So it's like when I'm now being myself and it's scary, I need to reverse the part of me that thought I was safer hiding needs to heal so that I can be myself and it be okay, right?
Can I offer a perspective of saying that in different language?
Please. Oh my gosh, help me, because maybe this will help me with my speeches. Yes, come on, Jay.
Okay. Because I know what you mean when you bring up healing and people go, whoa. That exactly. Because how I often think about it is it's understanding. Okay. That is ultimately what leads to healing. Like, in other words, if I can understand why I have that pattern and maybe pairing that with self-compassion, then the healing happens. So, you know, you think about a child that's having a tantrum, right? And the child is crying and screaming. Well, first thing you would do with that child is you'd hug the child, and then you would seek to understand, you know, what's happening. And in that seeking, you would do so with a lot of kindness and respect and love towards the child. Well, that's the same way you handle your inner child, or the conditioning is through approaching it with curiosity so you can understand, and it's fueled with kindness and compassion.
That's beautiful. Nailed it. You're so right? Like understanding that as a young child, I thought I was safe and loved when I was agreeable and maybe supported the other people in their needs and didn't need too much, right? Like these were the messages that kind of happened unconsciously. So as an adult, in my mind, I'm like, are you crazy? You're gonna go like have opinions on a stage with a microphone? Like, whoa, like, yeah, just expecting rejection or expecting the opposite of love. Like, yeah, and just being able to be brave, right? To even just do it. And even like the fears won't even come up until you're like challenging yourself with this potential, like, risk or whatever it is. And then you're right, just be like, it's okay. Like, it's okay. And also, I think calibrating your nervous system to like, you're safe being yourself, right? Like, it's safe to be yourself. And the bravery is necessary for that part. Cause like, you know what I mean? Like, you don't even get to like feel safe being yourself until you just do it. And then you're like, okay, like maybe someone hated my comedy. Maybe someone hated my book. Sure, a lot of people didn't like my talks. It's fine. Like I've gotten negative feedback, like, and I'm still okay. Like I'm not excommunicated from the family. I'm not homeless, right? Like I'm not, this is not destruction for me. It's just rejection from someone who I wasn't their cup of tea. So like kind of like learning to, just still move forward, even in the face of potential negative feedback, rejection, whatever it's called. You get it.
Yeah. Safety is, you're right. You're spot on, to feel safe. And I think that your journey, along with some of what you're sharing here, suggests that through the actions you take, you prove to your subconscious that something isn't as scary as your mind is making it out to be.
Exactly.
Because you're so right. It's like, well, my mind perceived this as, this might kill me or excommunicate me. When then I went through it and I was like, wait a minute, I'm totally fine. So then I could do it again. One thing I want to get your take on, Shereen, is the aspect of the story with Penelope where she was dealing with a manager who, while was very kind, was unaware of some of the behaviors that were micromanaging and not really empowering. How would you encourage someone who has that tendency to be agreeable to be able to give that feedback or work with a manager like that?
Yeah. So I would definitely want to, so if I was coaching Penelope, if I was her coach, so assuming that I sort of have like one session a month or a couple sessions a month, that it's a little bit of like more of a relationship with Penelope, because this is not going to be a one and done. Because when you're asking Penelope, who has behaviorally, subconsciously, unconsciously chosen to be agreeable in order to survive in the world, it's not a quick fix, and it's not an easy behavioral change. It is a large ask to say, hey, Penelope, I know that thing that you think makes you safe in the world is working for you, but like, I'm going to ask you to like do something totally different and still function without completely freaking out. Like it's not a small ask, right? But this is like brain chemistry stuff. This is like, she's done this for a while. So you can't really like undo a program that's been running for so many years like that. It's going to take some time. And so I would first just say, one, I would actually probably I like to play games. I play games with clients. I would say, hey, let's play a game. So like if normally you look at the world through the lens of I am safe when I agree, let's play a game that reverses that. So between now and our next session, let's play the game that basically says, I am safe and successful when I disagree. Like, let's just play. And I'd be like, take notes. Let me know what comes up for you. I'll talk to you next time. Almost like a doctor prescription, like boom, boom, let's go. Yeah. And I would just hold her accountable to changing her behavior as a gathering of data. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to do this forever. I don't want to freak you out. It might just be 2 weeks between now and our next session. So like, don't trip, but do it. And we'll see what happens. I want you to take notes, check back. So then we would have our next session and she'd be like, okay, well, I disagreed with this person on this thing. I was totally scared and here's how it went, right? And she'd probably have a few different examples, like maybe a personal relationship, maybe a professional relationship, whatever. And then we would just discuss, great, how did it feel? What came up? How did they respond? How does that now make you see this program or behavior of being agreeable? Is it right? Is it questionable? How do you maybe want to move forward? So basically like in coaching sessions, I'm almost doing for clients what that seminar did for me. It's like, time out. let's just debrief, let's just reassess, and let's make a choice, right? Like, I want you to get off the playing field of life. I want to do this game with you. I want to talk about it. And then we make a conscious choice, not unconscious, not operating unconsciously, just whatever my mom told me. No, no, we are making a conscious choice of how you are choosing to be in the world just for the next 2 weeks. And that makes it like bite-sized and simple and purposeful. Like, I'm only doing this for 2 weeks, and then I'm going to talk to Shereen about it. Like, it's just less of a big thing, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've had women go, well, I spoke up in this meeting and it actually went great. And I normally never speak up, or, you know, and it just is so nice to be able to like handhold through that. So that would be step one. I would say step two is like, I want to make Penelope maybe feel different about conflict, right? Like, help her change the way she's viewing conflict. Because like right now it's like, agree. Oops, there's some sort of disagreement. Let me fix it so that we go back to agreeing, right? She's in this kind of like way of being that just she wants to like not have any fires. She's trying to put out fires by being agreeable. And I would just start to say like, well, maybe fire is a good thing. Maybe we need to burn that shit down. You know, like I would just start to like play around with the idea of like, because, you know, one thing I've learned, and actually this is more through like personal than professional, is like, so there's this form of therapy called imago therapy. And it's all about how you sort of choose a partner that is familiar enough to feel like your family of origin love, but challenging enough to like trigger you into into having to heal, to become like the best version of yourself, right? So in imago therapy, conflict is just change trying to happen. And I love that framework because you're like, oh, conflict isn't good, bad, right, or wrong. Actually, it's not about that. It is change trying to happen. And so, you know, at the time when I was sort of learning about this, it was like, okay, me and my husband are fighting. Instead of thinking something's wrong or like trying to people please into agreeing again, I'm going to view this as, this is change trying to happen. So like, what's the change? Or how do we both need to adjust maybe to like, to be better partners to each other? And so when you begin to view conflict differently, you don't feel so quickly like you just want to accommodate and make it go away. It's like, oh, this could be the best change for the organization. Actually, like Penelope could then be like, actually, the best thing I could do is show my direct manager how incredible this piece of information is that I have for training. And if I was her coach, I would actually also say, put together a presentation that will outline the ROI so that your boss can very easily see literally return on investment, like in like money, you know what I mean? Like percent, numbers, money, data, like bring to him a presentation that will illustrate why this would be a great investment in your people, in retention, right? And all that. And then it's not even conflict. Then it's just a conversation, right? It's just like, hey, here's some information I want to share with you. I know that you wanted to go this way, but I thought it might be supportive for the organization to go the other way. And instead of just throwing that out there, I actually put together some numbers for you and I want to show them to you. And this is like, this is managing up. Like everyone's going to have to manage up. Like I'm at the top of my company and I tell my people like, please boss me because I can be very tunnel vision and like, I need the feedback and sometimes I need to be managed. So like, feel free, you know what I mean? Like feel free because we don't have it all together just because we're meeting. Okay. So yeah. So like I would say Penelope, like help this guy see. He just doesn't see or girl. I don't know if the manager is a woman or a man. Look at me being sexist. Oh my goodness.
I think in the story it was a man. I don't remember. I think so. Because
all right, great.
it was based on a real person who I think had a male leader. Now, there's a few things you said there that were great. The way of framing it as a game, I think that's smart because it kind of takes out the seriousness of it. Totally. Right? It's just experiment, go try this, and it doesn't feel as serious. And then exactly. the shift in perspective or perception of what conflict is. I do think that there's a lot of power in perspective or perception shifts, how you perceive, let's say, anxiety, how you perceive conflict, how you perceive stress. If you add such a negative connotation to it, it just creates more and more resistance. But if you look at it from a perspective of, no, here's an opportunity for me to learn, or this is change trying to happen, you just end up approaching it differently. Then you don't need, like, there isn't a formula that is required at that point, because you've shifted your mindset and you'll handle it well, especially someone like Penelope, who is experienced and smart and capable.
Yeah.
All she really needs is that mindset shift, and then she'll handle it much better.
Yeah.
So I want to ask you, Shereen, if let's say Penelope read your book and she reached out to you and she did have a coaching session with you, and she spills her guts, tells you everything that's going on, and you're listening, and you have an opportunity to ask her a question or two to evoke some different thinking within her, what would you ask her and why?
Yeah. So this isn't necessarily going to evoke different thinking, but I think it's to your point of understanding, right? Like, I would want to understand, what are the programs running in Penelope's unconscious that are telling her to stay quiet? So I would first ask, like, okay, so like, tell me about that. Like, maybe you wanted to share this amazing program that you had created and you didn't, because why? Like, if I share what? And I would have her like complete the sentence. Like, if I share, he'll hate the idea. Or if I share, I will be viewed as overbearing, right? Whatever might be coming up for her, because then I kind of understand the pathways she's been, like, where the river runs in her mind. I understand where the river flows easily. So in her mind, whatever came up with that boss in that moment is what's coming up in every area of her life. So I first need to just understand that. Once I have that, so let's pretend she said, if I say what I think, or if I'm like honest about what I really think, people won't like me, right? Let's just like keep it simple, right? Because oftentimes it is that simple. I'd be like, okay, so tell me this. If people don't like you, then what? Like, what does that mean? If people don't like you at work or whatever, and then we would go down that road. Okay, so if that's the case, then, and we would just keep going, because I would need to understand really deeply, like, what's the core here? Once we get there, honestly, I think that awareness, like, I know you've probably heard people say awareness is medicine. So I think Penelope becoming aware through those questions of like what's really running her deep down will help her sort of unlock a little bit. So even just the awareness. So I don't even need to like take her anywhere new. I'm just helping her understand what is running her on an unconscious level, day to day, moment by moment. So she knows, right? So she just knows what's happening inside. And then once we know, I mean, Jay, I'm sure you've seen this with your clients. I mean, it's literally like the beginning of the most profound relationship of your client's life, because I then can hold Penelope's hand in becoming her true self in all her relationships, right? Like in all her relationships, personally, professionally, everywhere, so that she's actually fulfilled. Because the problem when we play roles or when we play nice is we're not being our actual self. And so you're not even truly experiencing life or relationships as they are. You're playing a part. You're just playing a role. And the people in your life don't experience who you truly are. You never arise as truly unique in the relationship. You're not actually being yourself. And so there's a disconnect that happens that I believe creates a deep sense of dissatisfaction in a lot of people. And I think that's why we see so much discord in the world, right? I feel like a lot of people are experiencing that disconnect from themselves and therefore from other people, and not able to feel connected on a heart level, connected on a soul level, connected on a level that makes them feel happy, fulfilled, alive, safe in relationship with other people, right? And so, yeah, I just think like the unlocking of that is everything. And then we play the games and we do the things, and she slowly becomes somebody new. I feel like I'm not answering your question because I'm not giving you like one profound question I would ask her, but
no,
yeah. It's like I would help her unpack like the luggage she's carrying, and from unpacking, she gets to operate free.
Well, it's the best approach because it isn't assuming anything. It isn't projecting onto her what you think. It's inviting her to come to the awareness on her own. And I think that's always going to be the best approach, and being able to work through any conditioning and programming and be the best version of you. And so, Shereen, I want to thank you so much for taking time to chat with me. And for anyone listening to learn more about the work that Shereen is doing, it's ShereenThor.com. That's ShereenThor.com. EENTHOR.com. By the way, that is the way my sister spells her name, Shereen, too. So it's SHEREEN.
Cool.
And I know you have a video course that's coming out. It's
Yes.
called Revolutionary Women, I believe. Yes?
Yeah. So the book is called Revolutionary Woman. The course is basically like a video coaching course, also called Revolutionary Woman, based on the book. So if people like reading, they could just do the book. That's probably like the most affordable version of the things. But some people don't like reading and they want a little bit more of an interactive experience. And so we created the course for them. And yeah, I'm really excited to support people like Penelope, right? Who just have so much value to bring and maybe just feel afraid. It's very common. So thank you, Jay, for just having me on. I've honestly had an amazing time. You're very good at what you do.
Oh, you're so kind. I'm so glad we did this. I think you and I connect on so many levels, and we may have to do this again in the future because I felt like there were so many things that I think I could ask you about. So we may have a round 2 here at some point.
I'm all for it.
That was such a fun conversation that I had with Shereen. She has a way about her where she adds levity to things, and I think it's very authentic. It's very genuine. I listened back and I was smiling quite a bit hearing the exchanges we had and some of the things she shared. So I'll do my best to synthesize it into 3 insights and 3 actionable takeaways, as we always do. So the first insight I want to share: your brain is wired for survival, not happiness. And to suppress what comes up for you is poisonous. She gave some shocking statistics. I'm going to read them. People who suppress their emotions are 30% more likely to die of premature death by all causes, and 70% more likely to be diagnosed with cancer. Suppression is not the answer. So if you think suppressing something and holding something in is going to be a smart choice, you're wrong. You're making a choice that is killing you in the long run when you suppress how you feel. Second insight: live a life true to yourself. She talked about Bronnie Ware and the 5 regrets of the dying. That fantastic read, by the way. And that is the number 1 regret. All of us, our days are numbered. Don't live a life according to others' expectations. Live a full life. Don't live with those kind of regrets. That weight is too heavy. Third insight: conflict is change trying to happen. What a great perspective shift. To not think of it as right, wrong, good, bad. Conflict is simply change. And if you can shift your perspective on conflict, then you won't be so hesitant to respond to someone in a way where you speak up for yourself. You won't be so afraid of conflict. Actionable takeaways. First of 3, here's a question. What's the one thing you've wanted to do that you've been afraid to do? Identify what that is, then have someone hold you accountable to taking a step in that direction. I believe that each of us have a unique gift, a way of serving the world that only each of us can do. Be that gift. Acknowledge your unique ability to contribute, and don't hold it back for anything. Second actionable takeaway: healing is the bridge. Now, I know that word healing can have a stigma. It could be, kind of feels a little woo-woo or a little too mushy. And if it is for you, then I think understanding is sufficient to say. Understand the patterns that make you feel afraid, hold you back. Understand them. That's all that's required. And recognize there's no quick fix here. Through more understanding, which then I think leads to healing, you're breaking free from the things that have held you back. It's a way to help you to feel safe in the world and to not need anyone else to make you feel safe. You can tap into that sense of safety on your own. And third actionable takeaway: play a game. The way she discussed how she coaches her clients, and to play games such as I feel safe or I am successful when I disagree or when I say no. To tell yourself, operate from that mindset. Play a game and see where it goes. And then go through some of the if-then scenarios. Okay, if a person says this, then what? That way you can have awareness and expectation of what could come, and you're not so afraid of the unknown. You can kind of play it out, realize, hey, in the end, guess what? You're going to be okay. Join us on Friday's episode. I'm doing something special. March is my birthday month. March 13th, Friday, March 13th, is my birthday, and I am celebrating 40 years on this planet. And I thought, if I were to go back to my younger self, me at the age of 20, what lessons would I share with him? And I really took some time to think about this. And I came up with 10. And I made them actionable. Rather than a what or a why, I'm going to be giving the how. Things that you can apply. Things that you can take with you and make actionable. Because I think in the end, that's what really makes a change, is to do something. Having steps, things that are applicable to real life. And Friday the 6th, I'm going to be going from 10 to 6. And on the 13th, I'll do 5 through 1. And I did my best to put them in order of what has been the biggest game changers in my life. It doesn't mean that 10, 9, and 8 wouldn't be important to you. It might be actually more important to you depending on your season of life. These are just like the 10 things that I felt have helped me to live a full life, to really change my relationship to things like stress and anxiety, to be able to be resilient, to perform at a high level, to take bigger risks like starting my business, and the way in which I have just altered my perspective on all things. And it's what I hope to share with you, and I really hope it's helpful. I really do. And so join us on Friday the 6th for the first of those 2 episodes. It'll be a 2-part series, Friday the 6th and Friday the 13th. So we'll have that on for you on Friday. And until next time, of course, thank you so much for listening.